Squid Games has taken the world by storm, and rightfully so. With its smart writing and funny cast of characters, it's a breath of fresh air from the normal awful movies that Netflix tries to promote. So in this video, we're going to talk about 10 facts you more than likely didn't know about this popular series. The first 5 facts will be spoiler free, with the other half of the video being filled to the brim with shocking spoilers. So if you haven't seen Squid Games, I highly advise you to check it out before continuing past the 5th fact in the video. With that being said, let's get to some of these facts that even shocked me about Squid Games. The idea and concept for Squid Games was actually developed 10 years ago, but failed to get picked up by many companies and actors. The director of the film went through his own financial hell just like the one featured in the film, even having to sell his laptop that he wrote the initial draft of the series on. Early investors didn't see Squid Games as something they could make money on, with the concept not being commercial enough. They essentially just didn't want to take the risk on it. This would ultimately be a huge mistake on their end, with Squid Games becoming a sort of pop culture phenomenon this year, with it looking to become one of Netflix's highest viewed shows with over 82 million people viewing the show. The staircase used by the contestants to travel each game is actually a nod to an artistic piece of work by artist MC Escher. In fact, you may have seen this piece of art before in other places, as it's considered to be one of the most copied and parodied pieces of art of all time. Several of the creepy visuals of the Squid Games were inspired by many artists. Another such artist was Lewis Carroll. Several of the oversized sets, such as the fan favorite doll from the Red Light Green Light, were inspired by art from Carroll, who is famous for her work on Alice in Wonderland. This has even led to several museums popping up over the world featuring said art pieces from the show. The logo seen on the invite cards, the circle, triangle, square that look like something from PlayStation, are not elements of the Squid Game court like many have speculated. They are actually letters of the Korean alphabet written in Hangul, the Korean writing system. The circle is the letter O, the triangle is part of the letter J, and the square is M. Altogether it reads OJM, which are the initials Squid Game in Korean. While Squid Games can be seen as a really creative show due to the writing, art direction, etc., it actually shares a lot in common with quite a few films. The director has said that he was inspired by several films such as Battle Royale, starring actor Takashi Miike. Takashi is no stranger when it comes to bizarre games, with him starring in the original Japanese version of Most Extreme Elimination Challenge called Takeshi's Castle. While Squid Games had already been written in 2010, Takashi would release a film very similar to Squid Games titled As the Gods Will. This film would contain a very similar storyline in which groups of contestants participated in a series of children's games and would die whenever they were eliminated. This film would also have Red Light Green Light as one of the games. The Korean throwing card game of Didachi usually requires several folded sheets of squares to play. After choosing a throwing player, the other players place their Didachi tiles on the table or ground. The throwing player tries to throw his tile so that it makes the other player's tile flip over. If he is successful, he gets to keep the tile. Throwing Didachi looks simple, but getting the angle and force necessary to flip the other player's tile can take a lot of practice. America would actually have its own version of this in the 90s called Pogs. If you don't know what Pogs are, you're not alone. It's not necessarily something that most people remember, as it was popular for about 2 to 3 years in the mid to late 90s. Many pop culture related Pogs would be created, from Scooby-Doo to Mortal Kombat, and you would play the game the exact same way as Didachi is played. Several films like to foreshadow deaths, such as The Departed, when they would use X's to foreshadow certain character deaths. Squid Games is no different, where several of the characters' deaths would be foreshadowed during episode 2, when everyone decides to leave the Squid Games. The foreshadowed scenes here are listed as followed. During one of the first episodes, when the contestants are being gassed inside the vehicles, this character is the only one who isn't gassed, seen smiling inside of the vehicle. That creepy smile always disturbed me even when he was still smiling after people were being shot. This should have been a dead giveaway that something was up when it's later revealed that he's the mastermind behind the Squid Games. In the main hall where all the players are kept, on the walls, there are depictions of children playing all 6 of the games that the contestants would go on to play in later episodes. The gun lighter in the black box represents the method in which most of the players are killed, aka gunshot wounds. The box wrapped in the bow represents the similar looking coffins where the dead players would be placed after each death. And the lighter represents how their body is ultimately disposed of, cremation. During the final episode, it's revealed that this character is the one behind the Squid Games. This is when a homeless man is seen freezing to death on the street, the exact same place where this character was when he was picked up in the van. But the old man proposes one last game. He says he no longer has faith in humanity, given the horrible things he has seen in the Squid Games over the years. He wagers a bet that if no one helps the man in 25 minutes, then he will be proven right about humanity being lost. If someone helps the man, then Ji-hoon wins the bet. The old man ultimately dies right before someone helps the man, proving that humanity isn't lost, even though the old man character dies before being able to see it. This sets into motion a sequel that we may or may not get, because according to the director, he has no interest in making a sequel to Squid Games right now. The sequel will, however, see our protagonist take on the frontman of the games, with him setting out to prove the old man wrong that humanity hasn't ultimately been lost, and he will seemingly do whatever he can to stop the Squid Games, or at least help the next group of potential players. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos.